Hi, I'm Rachel Lancaster, and this is the Magnificent Midlife Podcast. This is where we celebrate women in midlife and beyond. We challenge the status quo and bash those negative stereotypes about being an older woman. We're not over the hill at 40, 50, 60. We're just getting started, and the world needs us now more than ever. I'll be talking all things midlife and sharing some fabulous stories of amazing women doing very cool stuff. Now's our time. My guest today is Coach Christine, and she is the Empty Nest Coach. So we are going to be talking all things empty nest, why it's such a struggle for many of us, how we can deal with it and thrive, use it to thrive. So Christine, how did you come to be doing what you do?
It's a very interesting question. So I've always wanted to be a coach in some aspect, for sure. And I could never figure out what it was. My daughter had this unique educational experience, and I homeschooled her for some of it. She was in school for part. So I thought, well, maybe I could help homeschoolers and all these things. And because of her experience, she is gifted. She skipped in a total of 4 grades
Oh my
and ended up,
goodness.
yeah. And it was over time. So it was like, here's the skip a grade, here's skip a grade. And when she entered college 4 years early, and it wasn't something I slowly had prepared for. It was, hey, let's check this out. And a year later, she was going. So I went from having her with me all the time. And because of her young age, I was driving her to community college here. And she's kind of like my buddy. I was her Uber driver. We're driving all around, just so much time with her. And then suddenly, whoop, she's at college and 5 hours away from me. So it was quite shocking. It was eye-opening, and we have unique challenges that not everyone else has, where like she didn't go through the driving at home and having a job first. So I just really had the Band-Aid rip off,
Mm.
and it was tough. It was very tough. I did not show it on the outside, but I had a lot of mental work to go through to adjust to suddenly she's there, and where I'd normally talk to her, she's not there. And now my husband and I don't have the buffer. you know, it's very easy to use. Like, we get so busy as moms
Yeah.
doing the mom thing, whether we work or not. And dads are busy, our partners are busy. And, sometimes we just come together and we're talking about the kids and we go to sleep because we're exhausted. And we have to find that relationship again. So what I found is that other people who were going through the college transition were coming to me and asking me, they're like, hey, how did you do it? Because she went young. And I ended up helping a few people, and I thought, let me try this thing. So really the experience has been great. It's been granular to get to where I am. Hindsight's 2020. I can see how it was perfectly all meant to be, and I'm right where I need to be now. But when she first went to college and all these transitions, I was not so sure. So it was just quite a transition. I'm glad I took the step to do what I'm doing, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Okay. So you coach people individually, and you also have a podcast, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I love the podcast. That's been a great. I'm so glad I did that. And I really did it because I like listening to podcasts, and there are other coaches I listen to and I've gotten so much out of them.
Mm.
And, I may never buy their program, but they've changed my life. And there are a lot of women who can't afford programs. So if I can help them in one small way, I'm thrilled. I
Mm.
really enjoy it.
It's a great way of getting your voice out, isn't it? That's I think
It
what
is.
drives
And we
change.
meet so many other amazing
I
podcasters.
know we do, don't we? But I love sharing stories. I've decided that's what excites me most about it. That we get to meet these interesting women and then share these stories, which is lovely. But as you are specifically helping women as they go through that, I suppose, preparing for the empty nest and then being in it and then moving on past it, so to make it
Yes.
something wonderful, aren't you?
I'm trying, and it's really evolving over time to like to know where I thought it was going to be and where it's becoming. And I've created so much of my own content and so much of my own analogies. Apparently I'm very good at analogies, I've learned. So I have created things that I'm really proud of, but they don't also feel like they're part of me. It feels like they were meant to just come. I was meant to be the vessel for them to be there. And yeah, to get, with podcasting, it's a very lonely uh, medium
Mm.
because you're talking in a microphone and you may never know who you impact. And to get one person who tells you, I enjoyed that episode, or that was a really interesting way of thinking, and my husband and I feel better now. Like, that's incredible when you actually hear the few things.
Yeah, I haven't been brave enough to do a solo episode, actually.
Oh,
Maybe,
you're so ready,
do you
Rachel.
think so? Maybe I should try a solo episode. But what would I say? I don't know what I'd say. So I'm so used to it always being an interview. But that's fun. I like that because I like to share the stories. But yeah, maybe I
Yes,
should.
but you're working on a book, so you can work on
Oh,
some of your
shush! You're not supposed to tell
ideas.
anybody that. What are you doing?
Oh, it's a secret? Oh,
Well, it's not
sorry.
now. Goodness me, the
Oh,
whole world.
edit. There's edit. Wait,
No,
you're not.
a bit of global accountability will do me no harm at all.
Okay. Don't tell me anything.
Goodness me, I don't know. You get Christine on a podcast and off she goes.
We want to see the book.
Oh, goodness me, now my feet have been held to the fire. I will have to deliver.
Leave it to me.
So this is what you're clearly very good at, is making sure that people do what they say they're going to do, or enabling them to
I do
do.
like that. I will say, like, I get so much energy if someone tells me they want to do something. I want, like, what are your obstacles? Let's talk about it. Like, and typically 99% of the time it's all in their brain. Like, it's all in their mind. It's the thoughts they have. They have excuses, and to see them, and it takes time because it's never like a quick fix, but to see them, I call it the simmer, figure out like what is right for them and what thoughts work for them. And just because one thing you've tried didn't work doesn't mean your whole concept is a failure. I love when I can watch them grow. It's so inspiring.
I think that is a key thing, actually, that the wonder of the pivot. And I think a lot of us, we're so scared of that, aren't we? And I've, running a business, I've learned that you have to be able to pivot, because you can't get it right from the get-go, because we're all evolving
No.
all the time. And
Yes.
I think there's such a fear of failure, isn't it, that stops us in midlife doing the bigger things, doing the stuff that we've dreamt of doing. And yet we can take that first step and then we can pivot if it doesn't work. That doesn't mean fail. It means first attempt at learning.
Oh, I
First
love
attempt
that.
at
That's one
learning.
of my favorite things. When I was homeschooling, I was like, it was the first time I saw that, I was, what is this?
Yeah.
Why wasn't I taught this in school? And I had it on the wall
Brilliant.
in all different fonts. It's fantastic.
Mm.
And I think as moms, the one thing I have noticed that seems fairly consistent with people I work with is that kids leave, whether it's apartment or college, and they might come back. So you have to know it's whatever you come with today, like, it's going to adjust over the years because it's very different. You just don't know what the future holds. But a lot of times what mom wants to do is 2 days after your kiddo has had off, you want it all figured out. Like, what are you going to do? I'm going to start a job. I'm going to do this one career. I'm going to do this thing. And what I think is so important, if you have the resources and the time to be able to do it, is to kind of unravel who you are, who you are in your being, not who you are as mom, not who you are as, parent, as you are as partner, as you are in everything. And you might have this identity that you're the person who goes into every room and it's your job to fix everyone's problem. So, like, question it, like, because if you start peeling back the layers, you start to know who you are. And it's really worth the time to do that and not rush into the next thing, because we've spent 18 or so years kind of covering us up because, everyone else needs us. So to take the time to unravel it and to find who we are, it can be a little scary. A lot of us don't want to know who's under there. But she's beautiful. She just might be raw. And we need to find her. And then, she gets stronger and stronger, and it makes each of the pivots more beautiful because you're just learning each time.
It's interesting that you talk about peeling away layers like that, like an onion, isn't it, really? Because I went on a course before I started all of this, actually. And I think it was like the catalyst for starting all of this. It was called the Essence course. And it was an intensive thing. It was starting off, it was a whole weekend. But it was all about finding out who you were underneath. And then they did an advanced course as well. I did that, and that was a bit scary. But it
is scary, right?
It is very scary, and it's traumatic. It can be traumatic, but it is amazing if you can peel away those layers, because we build up defenses, don't we, as we go through life. We build up behaviors, ways of interacting with people. And if you can strip those away, it's really powerful to see who you are underneath. I love that idea.
It is. And the more I'm able to watch it happen consistently with women, you almost it's like you feel the energy together and we all get more powerful. It's incredible. A lot of it, I'm a big fan of Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. And it's a lot of, let's just question every single thought that comes into your head, because you think it's truth. It may not, more than likely you're just have accepted it as truth.
It took me such a long time to learn that. It's such a simple concept, but I went through life thinking if I thought something, it was true, mainly about myself or my experience.
Yes.
But actually, we create it all, don't we? It's all in our heads, and we can choose how we want to respond. There's a quote, isn't there, somewhere, that the only choice that we really have, or the final choice, is how we respond to something, how we choose to react. And there is so much that we can change in our heads.
There really is. And I can't get over the fact that we aren't taught this as children. Really, it's so powerful. I'm like, why didn't anyone tell me? I can't imagine. Now, granted, I'm perfectly where I need to be. I'm not going to live in that thought, because that's a choice too. So, but still, it's so powerful. And if I can help, the other thing is I have a heart for teenagers and kids. And if I can help mom, I know I'm indirectly or actually directly helping their children, which just makes me incredibly happy.
So what do you think are some of the biggest issues that women have when they're either facing the empty nest or right smack in the middle of it?
I'd like to go to the practical things where, they miss their kids. There are moms who just, the missing is so awful that they can't function, and you have every spectrum. And a lot of times it hits you at the strangest times. You don't wake up and be like, today I'm going to be sad about my child leaving. So I think just being aware of the fact that it's okay to have any emotion, and to question, when you feel it, actually feel it, and to go through it. Because I think the biggest thing that happens is something will trigger an emotion, and it just unravels into more than it needs to be, where you could be, okay, I miss my kid today. Yes. And if that can spiral into your whole day's ruined because you missed your child and you're crying in a corner. And some days you need that. You can do whatever you want, but you also can just actually feel the feeling and go through the sadness and be like, I am sad. I am going to cry, and it's okay. And to know it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be happy when your kid leaves. There's this, I think a lot of people think I'm like, no, you need to be sad. And I work with a lot of women who are sad. It's also okay to be happy, but then there's guilt wrapped around it sometimes. So it's just to be aware of all the things, and if you can tune into it, and to give yourself time, give yourself patience with the transition. It's going to take time. It's going to take adjustment. It took 18 years for you to adjust to your life today. And now you need to give yourself some time. Like 2 days later, you're not going to be magically back to where you were 18 years ago, or, even 6 months ago, because it's totally different. And just treat yourself with kindness, and treat everyone around you in the family with kindness too, because a lot of times this is wrapped all up about mom, but dad, your partner, the other children in the house, they have feelings too, and this is impacting them. So there's going to be like all kinds of stuff going on, and just to have kindness and patience with everything is going to be the best thing you can do.
And saying goodbye, I find, never gets easier. It's really funny that when we're recording this, I literally came back from New York yesterday, so I'm a little bit jet lagged. So I left New York on Sunday evening, having spent 4 days with my son, who happens to be studying in New York this year, and it was devastating saying goodbye to him. I'm feeling tearful just even thinking about it now. So that's coming over me, just thinking about it. But it's so hard. So hard when there's that distance and it's so far away, and there's a frigging ocean in the middle as well. It's like, oh, blimey.
I know, it is tough. Do you get good communication?
It's hard because there's a time distance difference. I mean, he's usually in Shanghai, so he's a bit closer this year.
That's right.
Bizarrely, this is his year abroad, because he's usually in Shanghai and now he's in New York. But the time difference doesn't make it easy. And I don't know his schedule, and he works late in a bar sometimes, and then he sleeps till midday. So I never know quite, and that those hours are changeable. So it's quite hard. I think perhaps it's slightly more difficult with boys. I think girls are more up for chatting to moms than boys are. Perhaps that's mine.
I wonder if you have the social media, because a lot of times I was talking to somebody about this, is that I don't want to keep texting and like, hey, are you alive? Are you okay? Kind of thing. But I'll be on Instagram and I'll see that she viewed a story and I'm like, okay, she's alive. like knowing, just checking the social medias and knowing that like there's activity there is good. And that, I don't know, does that work as well with?
Not with my boy.
No. Yeah.
No.
That's tricky.
It's a girl thing as well. I think that is too on social. He's not very active at all, which is probably not a bad thing, but
it's not actually.
Doesn't give me that sense of security. No. Oh my goodness. So you have a process, don't you, that you take women through in terms of preparing and then being. So talk us through your process of how best women can.
So I've taken a lot of what I learned from, it's a universal truths in my mind. Brooke Castillo's, I'm also adore her, Eckhart Tolle, and have an online program that is about like 6 weeks of work. And you can do it by yourself, because I know there are people that's all they need, and you can walk through it. We talk about your thoughts. We talk about your thought deliveries and questioning them. We talk about how your thoughts create your emotions. There's the option to add on text coaching with me. So it's great because as you're going through the program, you can just text me and ask me questions. And I've felt that really works well, almost to the point, actually this morning, I was like, I might just take the solo out, because I feel like it's so easy for us to take things as truths that we think are truths, but they're not. And until you have that outside person going, yeah, that might not actually be something that is, a truth. That's a thought. And until you have somebody outside of that looking at that, it's difficult to make as much progress as fast. You can still do it, absolutely. It just takes a lot more work, and it's like a slower period of time. So yeah, I have about a 6-week program where we go through that. And then I have a whole lesson on future you, which I do have a free program on that. But what's interesting is it's really hard to do that without all the mind work first. So it's kind of like this little glimpse in there. This is how you work with me. And then um, the real meat of it is in the program. So yeah, right now I do text coaching mostly because I do have a day job, and that allows me to balance everything. It's worked really well so far.
So what's your day job?
I'm an admin coordinator, a secretary, basically at a college, at a private liberal arts college. So it's actually lovely because I see both sides of the college thing from a parent, and I work in the enrollment division. So I get parents calling upset and questioning, and it's very interesting.
So how can parents back off? Because like, as you say, you go from like, they're here all the time, you're looking after them, and suddenly they're gone. And they're adults,
Yes.
and or maybe they're, well, depends where you are in the world, whether they're adults or not officially, but technically they're kind of adults, aren't they? And you've got to step back, haven't you? And you've got to try and evolve your relationship with them. What tips do you have?
Yeah, this is a lot of the patience, because the answer is going to be different for everyone depending on your kid and the parent. Um, if your child doesn't respond, that's normal, first of all.
Yeah.
I think
I
for
know that
college,
one.
when they first, they're so overwhelmed. They get there. I I have talked to parents in my day job who've called and it's like, I haven't heard from my child in 3 days. And then they tell me their schedule, and they're in sports and they're in activities, and they just got on campus a month ago. And it is actually very normal because they're trying to balance the fact that they have this whole new life, and they don't have you, and they don't know who to go to, and they may not want to go to you because they think they're not supposed to go to you. And they're trying to balance the new friends and the activities. So it is actually quite normal for you to not hear from them all the time. So first, take a deep breath. And then what I would do is actually look back at what your last conversation was and where you left it. And if it's positive, you can do little things like, hey, I like to do questions that are like, how are you feeling today? At the end of the day, every couple days, like, good day. And I kind of leave it there. If they don't respond a lot back, that's okay. If I get like the fact that they've seen it, I'm pretty happy. But a lot of it is just patience and adjusting to your new role and their new role. And please be patient with them, because as difficult it is for them, for you, it is for them too, even if they're super excited. It's a lot. It's a huge adjustment. I mean, I don't know, maybe your child did all their laundry and could take care of themselves and didn't need nagging. That's far, few and far between. But if they're now in a place where they don't have you reminding them, they may be continually going, okay, what's the 5 things I forgot so far? And the last thing they want is someone to pop in that they think is going to nag them.
Yeah.
So
Nagging.
change your tone.
Remote nagging does not work.
No, it really doesn't.
If you want communication, don't do the remote nagging.
The best thing you can do is support and love them from afar, because there are very few things you can do as a parent. Like, you can't go in and fix their teachers' things. You can't fix their assignments. So hear what they're saying and love them, and know that they're trying their best, is really just the love. We can solve all world problems right now. Just love.
And is it mainly kids who've gone to college, their parents that you work with, or is it also people like gone off to military or just moved away? Or
yeah, so I actually just worked with a client who doesn't even have children. So, And she did great. She's, oh my gosh, so exciting. So I work with anyone, but at the same time, my specific person that I'm talking to is this, because I'm living it right now. It makes it super easy to communicate back. But whether, military, here's the thing, we're all going through the same thing. Your kid's heading off, whether it's apartment, your kid could be 40 and finally moving out of the house.
Out time too.
You might be kicking them out. And then you might be dealing with guilt. But so really, anybody who I always say, check out my podcast if you like what you hear. I am very transparent. I am, what you see is what you get, what you hear is what you get, and we go from there.
And do most parents, do most women, if they go through this process and they start thinking about it, do they decide to make big changes, small changes, medium-sized changes? Do they have like something new to do, or do most of them just carry on pretty much doing what they're doing, but they've handled the emotional turmoil?
Yeah. So some have found they are happy with where they are, once they've done the work to realize that, they thought they were miserable and everything, but really they were just mentally like beating themselves up inside their head. And once they could clear that, they make smaller changes. And then there are people who think they're going to make a big change, and they do, but the change isn't anything what they thought was going to be once they've processed through everything. Because, maybe they think they want to be a chef, and then they discover over time, the more the layers peel back, that, they get energy around, toddlers and like to photograph them. And that's, they want to do photography for parents and things like that you just are able to discover. So it's really quite a gamut. And I think I would be doing people a disservice if I thought, by taking my program, you're going to have your one thing and your life goal, because only you know what that is, but you have to discover you to figure out what it is.
So what's your biggest bit of advice if you want a woman in midlife, she's really struggling with the empty nest, but also struggling with the pain of the kids leaving, but also just not knowing what she wants to do with the next stage of her life? What would your advice be?
If she doesn't know what she wants to do and she wants to figure it out, I think discovering who you are and to really check your thoughts, because we are our own worst enemy. And the one thing I have discovered is that most women are horribly unkind to themselves with their thoughts. And it is painful to hear them say it out loud. And when you hear them say painful things out loud, you can't imagine what they're saying inside. So just to be kind to yourself and to notice how cruel you're being to yourself in your thoughts. And this may sound harsh, but when you become aware of what you're saying, like, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I could never do that dream job I want to do because I'm not qualified. When you stop beating yourself up and saying things that you wouldn't say, like, I would never say that stuff to you, Rachel. Like, I would never say that, but I might at some point in my life have said that to me. And when we can start being kind to ourselves as we want to be to our children, then your life can change.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Magnificent Midlife Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, share it, and leave me a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening. You can find out more information about this episode in the show notes at magnificentmidlife.com. That's also where you'll find strategies, support, and resources to help make your midlife magnificent. Why not sign up for a midlife breakthrough call with me to get clarity on how to make the most of your next chapter? Don't get stuck in what can sometimes be the messy middle. Help me change the world, one magnificent midlife woman at a time.